On December 10, 1869, Wyoming Governor John Campbell signed the Women's Suffrage Act into law, which included women having the right to vote, hold public office, and serve on a jury. The Wyoming Territory was the first in the nation to guarantee women unconditional suffrage and entered the Union 20 years later, upholding these rights. From 1869, it was a full 50 years until the 19th Amendment within the U.S. Constitution was amended to include women's suffrage. Then on January 27, 1920, Wyoming voted to ratify the amendment to ensure that women could not be denied voting rights. The first vote that was cast by a woman under full civic equality to men was Louisa Swain. Her ballot was cast in Laramie, Wyoming, 150 years ago, with the anniversary on September 6, 2020. Highlighting Wyoming's role within the women's suffrage movement brings awareness to the state's role in the lengthy battle for women's rights and the final ratification of the 19th Amendment. My name is Ann Fish. I am a proud UW graduate and thrilled to be a director of the Alumni Association Board. Wyoming pride runs deep, especially when it comes to our history of lifting up women.
Thank you, Ann. Beginning in the fall of 2019, the University of Wyoming began celebrating 150 years of Wyoming women's suffrage through promotion of on-campus and in-state exhibits, presentations, musical performances, and so much more. In reflecting on these suffrage events and women's rights, the University of Wyoming Alumni Association would like to thank the women of our board of directors and those that have been employed by the association. You have dedicated your time, leadership, and knowledge to our organization while continually upholding our mission of engagement with alumni and promoting the UW. We have posted profiles highlighting these incredible women and their time spent with the UWAA on our website at uwyo.edu/alumni. We are also honored to share with them today a UW Alumni Women's Panelist event sponsored by Black Hills Energy, First Interstate Bank, and UWAA Federal Credit Union. We hope this event helps to engage not only the women we are recognizing, but is one that all UW alumni may enjoy.
It is my sincere pleasure to recognize Robbie Darnall, former UWAA Executive Director, for her 34 years of service to the Alumni Association. She was the Assistant Director from 1977 to 1981 and took the reins as the Executive Director and first female Executive Director in 1981 and served in that capacity until her retirement in 2011. I've been lucky enough to know Robbie my entire life. In fact, it was my mom, Candy France, former UWAA board president, who told Robbie the assistant director position was vacant. I also worked for her when I attended UW as the membership services coordinator and enjoyed 5 years of fun trips to away games and scholarship auctions around the state with her and the rest of the staff. Robbie accomplished a great deal in her 34 years with the Alumni Association, but several standout accomplishments deserve recognition. She, along with an outstanding committee, facilitated the purchase of the Alumni House located at the corner of 14th Street and Grand Avenue in 1990. They raised over $350,000 from alumni and friends that was used to purchase and renovate the house. She, as executive director, started the student alumni organization WYO Gold, formerly known as WYOSA, created the first young alumni position on the board, accepted responsibility on behalf of the association for the homecoming parade and many homecoming events, sponsored the Centennial Singers, and published the Alum News, which in 2014 was incorporated into the UWYO magazine. With help from more dedicated volunteers, she raised funds for the production and installation of the Talk About Your Cowboy statue created by Wyoming artist D. Michael Thomas and installed at the Alumni House in 2008. Perhaps her biggest and most recognizable accomplishment, along with the 2007 UWAA board, was their effort in lobbying the legislature in support of the bill authorizing the sale of UW license plates. The UWAA began accepting license plate applications in 2007 And since then, almost 14,000 brown and now gold plates have been sold, resulting in nearly $1.4 million being generated for student scholarships and programming. The license plate sales have and will provide scholarships to hundreds of students, and their impact on student success is immeasurable. These plates are a daily reminder of Robbie's hard work and dedication to the UWAA and students at the University of Wyoming. Robbie was honored at the UWAA 120th anniversary in 2015 when the UWAA board established an endowed scholarship, the Roberta M. Darnall Alumni Scholarship, in her name. To date, 2 students have received the award. Thank you, Robbie, for your leadership.
Thank you, Jane. My name is Jocelyn McGriff. I'm a 2005 graduate from UWAA board member and the interim executive director for the Association of Fraternity and Sorority Advisors in Indiana. I'm honored to be the moderator of the UW Alumni Women's Panelist event today. I would like to welcome our panelists, Dr. Gaurdia Banister, Executive Director of the Institute for Patient Care at Massachusetts General Hospital and the Director of the Yvonne L. Munn Center for Nursing Research. She earned a bachelor's degree in nursing in 1980 from UW. Mary Ellbogen Garland, President and Chair of the John P. Ellbogen Foundation. She earned a bachelor's degree in 1984 in marketing and received an honorary degree in 2009, both from UW. Mary Johnson, Vice President of Special Projects for Young Williams, a government health and human service company. She earned a bachelor's degree in secondary education with an emphasis in biology in 1990 and a law degree in 1995, both from UW. Rita Meyer, Director of Wyoming Infrastructure Investments for Rocky Mountain Power, a Berkshire Hathaway energy company. She earned a bachelor's degree in 1982 in middle school education and a second bachelor's in 1989 in accounting, both from UW. Ladies, I'm excited to learn about your career pathways, your keys to success along the way, and any obstacles you may have faced and how you overcame them. We will start today with Dr. Gaurdia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a member of this prestigious panel and to recognize the important right for women. When I started college at UW, I had no idea that I wanted to become a nurse. I literally had a different major every semester. I thought about being a medical technician, a geneticist, a physician. There were so many interesting professions to choose from. Finally, my parents said, "You need to decide on a major and get out of school." I think they were worried. After taking a series of tests at the university, I learned that I had a proficiency for math and science. After much contemplation, I decided on nursing because I had seen wonderful caregivers in my family, but I really didn't know what I was getting into. As I reflect on my career, I can honestly say that becoming a nurse has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. The School of Nursing, now named the Faye W. Whitney School of Nursing, provided the foundation that helped me launch my nursing career. At the school, they not only taught the fundamentals of nursing practice, they also instilled in me and my entire class leadership skills, advocacy for patients and families, compassion for others, dedication to the profession, and the importance of lifelong learning. I still remember Dean Schrum, Dot Tupper, and Dr. Marcia Dale in the School of Nursing, who were my role models. My first nursing position was on an acute care locked psychiatric unit in an academic medical center. I knew I wanted to be a psychiatric mental health nurse. I found the staff to be so generous with their time and expertise. In my career, I've found that paying it forward and supporting the next generation has been one of the keys to my personal and professional success and satisfaction. The experience at the medical center, where nearly everyone, or at least I perceived it that way, were furthering their education, compelled me to go back to school to get my master's degree and ultimately my PhD. I think another key to my success has been the ability to seize opportunities and take risks. while I had gone to the University of Texas to get my master's degree, I had no plans to pursue a PhD until the dean of the school, Dr. Billy Brown, suggested that there might be some funds to help pay for my education. I immediately said yes, without even thinking about the rigors of doctoral education. Fortunately, I successfully completed my terminal degree so early in my career that it opened up doors for me that might not have opened otherwise. This includes teaching nursing administration at one of the first master's nursing programs in Sapporo, Japan for a year, and to my current role at Massachusetts General Hospital. Taking risks also led me to move out east, a girl from Casper, Wyoming. Back then, that was a bold move. Another key to my success was finding passion and ensuring that my passion was aligned with my profession. I've been able to incorporate other aspects of myself into my work. Both of my parents were community activists and promoted civil rights. I must say they were also keys to my success because they were my biggest cheerleaders. Anything that I wanted to do, they felt I could do it, even if I had doubts. My father recently passed away, but my parents set the example for me about how important it is to give back and advocate for others. They were also risk takers because they moved to Casper from New Orleans in order to provide a better life for their family after my father had served in the Korean War. It is because of this I've been an advocate and champion for advancing diversity in nursing. As the country continues to become more diverse, it's important that patients are cared for by a diverse group of nurses and other providers. While this is a very important goal, being accepted into nursing school and the costs associated with college can be challenging and out of reach for some, especially diverse students. I've been able to, along with like-minded colleagues, to create programs that have provided mentorship, financial support, educational opportunities, and much more to help diverse students pursue a nursing career. That has not only changed their lives, it's changed the lives of their families as well. These nurses have also become role models in their communities. When others see that someone just like them has been able to become a registered nurse, they say, I can do it too. I hope I have been a role model for others. Mentors have also been instrumental in my success, and I've had multiple mentors who've offered their unique perspectives and expertise. Their guidance and support has been invaluable to me. One example that comes to mind is when I was a chief nurse in an inner city community hospital in Washington, D.C., and I've been offered the position that I currently have at MGH. I was reluctant to leave because I felt that there was so much more good work to be done where I was. The staff were amazing. It was a mission-driven organization serving the poor and underrepresented, and it aligned with my core values. However, my mentor helped me to see that I had planted the seeds in that organization that would likely continue to flourish, and now assuming a new role would give me the opportunity to have a larger platform and more influence to continue to do great work. She was right. Our parent organization committed close to $2 million to creating a nursing diversity pipeline program. Not only have the participants successfully practiced as nurses, the model has been showcased as an exemplar many times across the country. I also have to say that where I am today, much credit is due to the large village that surrounds me. It includes my parents, my brother, my husband and his family, friends, other mentors, colleagues, and many others. From the Gospel of Luke 12:14, to whom much is given, much is required. As I reflect on the challenges I've faced and overcome, being a person of color in a predominantly Caucasian profession comes to mind first. I've had to work harder, be smarter, and give 100% in everything that I do. I've had to prove myself time and time again in some instances when others have not. One thing I've learned is the value of persistence. An example of this persistence was partnering with a community organization to manage a substance abuse disorder program in Washington, D.C. years ago. While my organization was nervous about starting a new program in the community, I felt strongly that it was the right thing to do. I can't tell you how many meetings I attended where I had to make a case for this program and how it could benefit the clients that we serve. Ultimately, my organization agreed, and for the next 10 years, we provided comprehensive treatment services to thousands of patrons. We even created a special program to employ some of the participants in our hospital in healthcare-oriented jobs. Again, a key to my success has been the ability to give back and hopefully make things better whenever and wherever I can. Certainly, I've worked hard and I'm highly focused to achieve the goals that I set for myself, but I've received so much help and support along the way. As I reflect now, nursing has been so good for me. I hope the next generation of nurses will feel the same joy of nursing as I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Banister. Next, we will move to Mary Ellbogen Garland.
A first memory may be considered career pathway or informing career pathway. Either way, the experience left an impression. When I was 10 years old, a family friend invited me to participate in a bike ride to raise money for March of Dimes. It was a beautiful sunny day. I pedaled my heavy single-speed bike at least 100 miles, maybe 200. That's the distance from Casper to Glenrock, right? Well, as an elementary-age child, that 25 miles sure seemed like 100. I understood at the time how important that cause was and how other kids did not have the advantages that I had. I was fortunate that time in my young adult years allowed my involvement as a volunteer in the Laramie community. This was a time of skill building, relationship building, and hands-on learning when I was a stay-at-home mom. I served on the board of my children's preschool, I served at church, and I served an organization that gives hope to at-risk youth. Then, serving on the UW Foundation board undoubtedly prepared me for my position with the Ellbogen Foundation. My dad intended that I would take the helm of the foundation at its inception. He pushed me to serve at UW, not gently, really, it was not optional, to step out of my comfort zone. My dad knew what I needed, and I respected his guidance. I took his lead. He understood my future far more than I did at the time. Being on this big, prestigious board did that in spades. It was scary for me. I was young and one of few women around the table. I mostly listened in the meetings and garnered the wisdom and mentorship of my fellow board members. I admired them. Certainly, learning about fundraising was the perfect pathway to becoming a better grant maker. The service at UW also taught me to be bold. During this same time, I took the lead to build an outdoor pool in Laramie. Serendipitously, I had a significant gift that could not be refused. From start to finish, every T was crossed, I dotted. A big serving of energy, the right people helping in the right places, and we were sprinting. We raised the needed dollars in a short period of time, with a special purpose tax, the rec center to be funded, on the ballot on several occasions. With our early success, this seemed like the perfect time to make this ask of our community again. That was the effort that turned our $1 million project into a multi-million-dollar facility that has been a huge benefit to the Laramie community for many years. Sideline, I can remember people telling me how dumb it was to build an outdoor pool with such a short summer season. Once done, lots of gratitude for that dumb idea. For me, being involved in community was hands down the best paving my career path. Some keys to success. I was in the first class of Leadership Wyoming. Not only did this provide great insight into Wyoming, our education and healthcare systems, the energy industry, the work and process of policy making, to name a few areas of focus. We also took time to reflect on our own leadership, and the ultimate lifetime treasure, I met some wonderful people who became friends, and subsequent classes gave me a truly amazing network to call upon anytime. Continue learning, seek professional development and relationship with mentors. When I began building the Ellbogen Foundation, I knew about writing checks, but little to nothing about the business of a nonprofit, federal law and governance, for example. I must say the board was very gracious when I was in deep water. Building partnerships and collaborations to gain efficiency and effectiveness. Inasmuch as Ellbogen provides resources to nonprofits, we are also builders of initiatives, a way to fill gaps to benefit our people. We work tirelessly on the design, build, and implementation of a teacher quality initiative. Absolutely, we needed others to join us starting with the governor, state superintendent of public instruction, UW College of Education, school district leadership, schools, and teachers willing to apply for highly challenging, rigorous, and risky endeavor. All generously took their respective roles in this effort that has been in place for 14 years and continues to certify teachers with the highest credential in the teaching profession. Surround yourself with good, smart, hardworking people. Success does not happen in isolation. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. That is asking others, friends, and colleagues to join in the work and help in whatever way is needed. In the late 1990s, I was asked to make a fundraising call for UW. I was certainly the right person, best positioned to make this call. I had a great conversation about UW, but couldn't quite make the $1 million ask. I told the foundation leadership about my meeting. They followed up. They came away with $1 million commitment and a list of other equally qualified prospects. I called my friend and asked, "Why didn't you tell me you were going to make this gift? Certainly you knew." He said, "I didn't tell you because you didn't ask." So my motto, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Passion, do what you love. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Far away the best prize that life offers is to work hard at work worth doing." Years ago, I remember a brief conversation at the gym with Dave Walsh, voice of the Cowboys. I asked him how his job was going. He said, "Sure beats working." As I mentioned, a healthy dose of being out of your comfort zone will cause you to grow professionally and personally. It's the place between success and significance. A couple of more examples. I was terrified of public speaking. So Toastmasters it was for many months. Practice helps. Oh, and then giving testimony at the legislative committee meetings, way out of comfort zone. Maybe that's the 100 miles to Glen Rock. Lastly, critically and honestly evaluating the present and looking to the future for next steps in your work. And then obstacles and overcoming. There will always be obstacles and challenges. Persist in the difficulty, look for the best solution, and be thoughtful. Do your best in those tasks that you don't enjoy. Return calls and messages even when you don't want to. I've made mistakes, but I always have good, right intentions. Take the high road. And in closing, living in Wyoming is a tremendous asset right at our fingertips. Take advantage of it. We are blessed indeed. And a quote from Charles Kettering, an American inventor, engineer, and businessman, the holder of 186 patents, said, "We should all be concerned about the future because we'll have to spend the rest of our lives there." Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next is Rita Meyer.
My career pathway, well, I always say my career pathway is a patchwork quilt because it's comprised of technical training, academic degrees, and work experiences that somehow, by default or not, linked at critical junctures in my life and gave me an opportunity to work and to serve around the world. I started my first professional job after I graduated from a technical training school in Omaha, Nebraska, and that was in 1970. The technical school that I attended later became a community college. I am truly a great champion of community colleges, technical training opportunities, because that was my own segue into higher education. And frankly, I don't know where I would be today without that starting point. Just an aside on community colleges and my connection. Many early community colleges were called normal schools that prepared teachers in 1 to 2 year programs. My grandmother received her teaching credentials in the early 1900s from one such school in Nebraska in the early 1900s. And she taught in the public schools until she was married. At that time, there was a norm in place called the marriage bar, which restricted the employment of married women. This was very common throughout the 1900s. The practice called for the termination of the employment of a woman on her marriage, especially in teaching and clerical occupations. Furthermore, widowed women with children were still considered to be married preventing them from being hired as well. It was only after the 1950s that the practice was discontinued or outlawed by anti-discrimination laws. Both my grandmother and my mother were sent home from teaching duties when they married. So I digress with this story. I think it's important for us to remember history as a measure of where we've been and where we are today. I worked for a number of years in the field of dentistry as a chairside assistant, office manager, and dental public health assistant. During those years, I pursued several additional degrees. I also joined the Air National Guard in 1984 as an enlisted airman. I became a commissioned officer 1 year later and went on to deploy twice to the Middle East. My last overseas assignment was as one of 2 group commanders at Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. I retired from the military after 23 years in uniform in 2007. I ran for statewide elected office and was elected Wyoming State Auditor after that time. After serving in that capacity, I was tapped as VP for Rocky Mountain Power in Wyoming. After 8 years at the helm as VP, I was ready for a change, and now am Director of Rocky Mountain Power's investment infrastructure in Wyoming. We are set to complete about $3 billion of investments in transmission, distribution, and renewable energy projects at the end of this year, and have more than $4 billion of additional investments in transmission and generation on the drawing board throughout our service territory. What I consider keys to success for anyone, male or female: a foundation of post-secondary skills, training, and academics. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Experience matters. My first job was a janitor in a nursing home run by Catholic nuns, and I will truly say I learned more in those years on that job than perhaps in any job I've ever had. I learned about people. Family, hard work, grit, communication skills, risk-averse, and healthy lifestyle are all very important keys to success. Obstacles? Because my family was very impoverished, I always felt that I was out of step in terms of a timely education and career timeline, especially with others my age. I struggled to get an education after high school, and it took me a long time because I simply didn't have the social skills to navigate the pathway and systems into post-secondary education and training. I'm not sure when I caught up or if I ever caught up, and maybe that's why I'm still vested in my career and working full-time at almost 70 years of age. Overcoming obstacles, and we all have them. There is no substitute for determination and hard work. For me, it was also overcoming my inability to be comfortable in social settings and to engage others to help me see and secure future career opportunities.
Our next panelist is Mary Johnson.
First, I'd like to thank the University of Wyoming Alumni Association for sponsoring an event focusing on Wyoming and women, and for asking me to participate. It's an honor for me to be on this virtual stage with so many amazing women. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Jill Clark-Lucero, a former University of Wyoming alumni president, my sorority sister, and a lifelong friend. She called me in 2004 and said, "Hey, you should run for the alumni board." I'm so thankful that I listened to her. It was such a rewarding experience. And finally, you've already heard about Robbie Darnall. She is truly one in a million with her drive and tireless effort to make the Alumni Association and the University of Wyoming the best it could be. Thank you so much, Robbie. So my career path has really been somewhat non-traditional. I graduated from the University of Wyoming in 1990, and I immediately moved to the Virgin Islands. So I would say my first key to success is do something fun when you have a chance to do it. I wanted to scuba dive in the ocean instead of the lakes of Wyoming. I moved down there with 3 other amazing young women from the University of Wyoming, and I only actually knew one of them. My parents were very proud to say that, yes, I was a graduate, and I was working as a beach hut attendant, where I handed out towels and chairs, and I took people scuba diving. In 1992, I headed back to Laramie, where I attended law school. It was such a fantastic experience. And when I graduated in 1995, I was kind of stuck because I didn't really exactly know what I wanted to do. One thing that former Governor Mike Sullivan is credited with saying is Wyoming is a small town with really long streets. So my second key to success would be to network. Whether you're in school, whether you're doing community service, in your current job, network with other people, because that will hopefully help you find your next position, which is exactly what happened to me. I was sworn in to the Wyoming Supreme Court in the morning on one cold November day, and that afternoon, I applied for a job as a staff attorney at the local child support office while my parents drove around Cheyenne waiting for me to get out. Thankfully, they decided to hire me, and about 3 months later, they came to me and said, "Mary, would you like to be the manager of this office?" And I said, "What?" And they said, "No, would you like to be the manager of this office?" There were about 26 people. And I said, "I don't have any management experience. I mean, I was a head lifeguard, but I don't think that really counts." And I said, "I never took any management courses in college. I don't really know." So I said, "Let me think about it." And I went back to my office that I shared with another attorney, and I told him what they had asked. And he said, "You know, you can stay on this path and be a staff attorney. You can be a great child support attorney, go to court, do all of those things. Or you could take a different path, management, and maybe that would open more doors." So my second key to success would say, take some chances, try new things. And so I said, sure, I'll supervise 26 people. This is my next key to success. Oh my gosh, make sure you find a mentor. If you can, a mentor in your company would be best because you have the same language, you talk the same things. If not, you just need to find someone and ask questions. My big thing then and now is you have to keep learning and growing. So I would say one of my greatest obstacles, well, I had so many challenges back then, but the best one that I love to tell people about is my company said, "Hey, you need to hire a fiscal specialist. This person needs to have an accounting background. They need to be able to look at child support payments and court orders and reconcile all of that." I'm like, all right. So I got an ad in the newspaper and I had 19 applications. Well, guess how many interviews I had? Yes, it would be 19. I had no idea I wasn't supposed to interview everyone. So find that mentor. It will really help you. So let's fast forward 13 years. 13 years later, I was responsible for 6 offices in Wyoming. I had 2 in Arizona. I had 2 in New Mexico. I was doing a lot of traveling and I had a very young family. I work in the business where we contract with state and local governments. And by that, I mean, they don't just give someone a contract forever and ever. You have to go through a procurement process. So my company went through the procurement process, and one of the most devastating things professionally happened to me. We lost. So of course I took it very personally. I thought it must have been me. What did I do? What did I do? It really wasn't me, but it was certainly devastating. The president of the company that won came to me and said, "Hey, Mary, we would really like you to continue as your role managing the 6 offices in Wyoming." And at that point, I didn't want to do that anymore. So my next key to success would be ask for what you want. Sometimes it's really hard for women to advocate for yourself. Do it. Practice in front of your mentor, practice in front of your spouse, practice in front of the mirror. Ask for what you want. So at that time in my life, I really didn't want to manage people or projects anymore. I didn't want to work full time. So I said, I know this new contract requires a policy manual. I'm a pretty good writer. I know the subject. I would love to work from home, and I just want to work part-time. And he said yes. So at that point, I became the director of special projects. He didn't know what to call me. I didn't care what he called me, so we picked on that. So let's fast forward again 12 years later. So now I'm the vice president of special projects. And my next tip, which I sort of talked about before, key to success, is keep learning and then share your success with people around you. And this is a huge one for me. Help other people grow, help them develop, help them to figure out what they want to do. So right now, I am responsible for a bid team. I have a director of proposal development, and she has a team of her own. She started as a proposal writer. Somehow I am also in charge of brand management, logos, and color palettes. We didn't learn anything about that in law school. Professional development, this is a huge passion of mine. I have someone who is responsible for over 100 attorneys that we have across the country. We provide our own sort of bar association where we provide development for new attorneys and managing attorneys. We have professional development for managers and supervisors and the difference between leadership and management. It's awesome. I also kept pushing my boss, hey, we need a training program. We need something consistent across the country. We're in all of these different states. And finally, after about 8 years, he said, yes, we do. And so I thought it would go to the human resources department like most companies. No, somehow I am now in charge of that. And I know way more about creating videos than I ever thought I would. And finally, just in the learning and growing and asking questions and being flexible in your role, my boss came to me about 9 years ago and he was like, I would like you to be in charge of a project to create an internal portal for our employees and an external portal for our clients. And I said, okay. And I'm happy to report that we rolled out the internal portal 2 weeks ago to our employees. And then I've started working on our external portal. So I'm learning all of the time. Keep learning and growing. And I guess the last piece of advice I would give to anyone, no matter where you are in your career, if you're just starting out or if you think you're very close to retirement, is figure out what your values are. Super easy. You can use anything on Google to figure out what they are, and then make important decisions with those values in mind. It has helped me immensely throughout my entire career. Keep learning and growing. And last but not least, always have fun. Thank you so much.
Ladies, thank you for sharing your inspiring stories. Next, we will move to the Q&A portion of our panel. Our first question comes from our sponsor, Heather Mortensen, Operations Supervisor for Black Hills Energy in Rawlins.
It is an honor and a privilege to get to hear each of you speak, so thank you for allowing me to ask a question. My question is for Rita. What career advice would you give to young women who are currently in the beginning of their careers and seeking to make an impact in industries that are predominantly male?
I would just always say, do not let the statistics deter you. It doesn't matter who had the job before you. Be confident in what you bring to the table. Learn to articulate clearly what capabilities you have and how those capabilities will constructively impact the bottom line for the company you wish to work for. Continue to invest in your skill sets even while you're looking for just the right career move. A wide set of capabilities in everything, from marketing to communications to financial acumen, makes you stand out from the crowd. Seek champions, mentors, and career paths that most interest you. Human Resources sees a multitude of applications for every job, especially now. You need to bring your best self to the table and sell yourself to the first person that reviews your application, so it doesn't go into the waste file before even being considered. When you're offered the job, step up and ask for appropriate compensation. Learn to negotiate just compensation packages. It's been my experience that women just aren't as skilled as men in making the ask. Don't leave money or potential benefits on the table. They may have simply been waiting for you to ask, and when they didn't offer. Once you're in the job, you need to show the value you bring. You need to show that you're worth more than it costs for the company to keep you. Don't expect others to know what you contribute if you don't find ways to state your value.
Rita, that's some really great advice. Thank you. Our second question comes from our sponsor, Randy Denham, President of First Interstate Bank in Laramie.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My question is for Dr. Banister. What advice would you have for very aspiring young women heading into the nursing field?
Thank you for that question. So I would say to those aspiring young women that if you truly want to make a difference in this world and impact the health of people, nursing is the absolute right profession for you. This is an extraordinary time to be a nurse or considering the nursing profession. As we all know, we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and there are countless examples from around the world of heroism, dedication, selflessness, and knowledge that nurses possess. Also, the World Health Assembly, the decision-making body of the World Health Organization, designated 2020 as the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. This was long before the pandemic occurred. The eyes of the world have watched and learned about our profession in a way that we could never have anticipated. Nurses are in the spotlight, and it is revealing the irreplaceable work of nursing for all to see. As I said, for me, being a nurse was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And I believe these aspiring young women who are interested in the profession, I hope that it will also be for them the best decision they've ever made. Nurses use scientific method to resolve complex health problems, and they also draw on disciplines such as biology, chemistry, and psychology. Nurses engage in evidence-based scientific practice to advance the health of individual patients and entire communities. For those going into the profession, the opportunities are limitless. You can work with any patient population, whether it's babies, adolescents, adults, or older adults. You can work in a hospital, community center, school, university, government, or clinic. Positions range from bedside clinician, manager, educator, researcher, or policy maker. And I haven't even begun to cover all the possibilities. Plus, nurses are in such demand right now. There's job security and the salary is competitive. Plus, you can work as a nurse anywhere in the world addressing global health issues if that's your passion. It also is a position that has flexibility, so you're not confined to Monday through Friday, but you can work anytime that's convenient for you and your family. So I would say that nursing is an amazing career, and I would look forward to welcoming anyone interested in aspiring to be a nurse into this wonderful profession. Thank you.
Our third question comes from our sponsor, Mindy Eiderdijk, Vice President of Marketing for UWAA Federal Credit Union in Laramie.
My question is for Mary Ellbogen, Garland. Mary, can you tell us about your most memorable and favorite experience of impact in the state of Wyoming that you've been a part of so far?
I think the best way to share a favorite impact is by using our grantees' words. We get lots of letters and thanks at the foundation. So from the simple, holy wow, we are so excited. Thank you so much for this multi-year gift. To the profound, I want to read an excerpt from a letter received from a grantee. Beyond thankful to be receiving the John P. Ellbogen Scholarship. This scholarship is going to help me be successful on my pursuit to becoming a future doctor. After I'm completely done with schooling, I would like to stay in Wyoming and work at a hospital as an obstetrician so that I can be a part of the most special day in many families' lives. From her scholarship essay, she has a quote from Carl Jung: "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." As a child, I grew up in a broken family where my parents didn't ever get along. My father treated my mother, my siblings, and myself horribly, which led to my mother treating us the same. My siblings and I were pawned off on my grandparents. Going through all these hardships as a child led me to pull my hair from the massive amounts of stress and abuse. This led to me getting bullied at school by everyone, which triggered me to suck my thumbs until I was 8 or 9 because it soothed me, but it also gave me buck teeth. I could have let these situations define me, but instead I chose to be the change. As you are nearing the end of this essay, I am sure you are probably wondering why you should choose me or why do I deserve this scholarship money. Every bit of money I receive will be paid back through my acts of kindness by helping others out, in return by taking care of them, fixing what is injured, being their rock, and bringing their son or daughter into this world.
Our fourth question comes from former UWAA Board of Director Marilyn Instrom.
Thank you so much. I just have to say, wow, these panelists have so much wisdom. I just sat here amazed. My question, though, goes to Mary Johnson. Mary, what woman faculty member or staff member supported, encouraged, or challenged you most while you were at UW?
Wow, that is a great question. And the one woman who stands out above all of the other amazing women who supported and challenged me the 7 years that I was in Laramie was Peg Tobin. In 1986, I came to Laramie as a fresh-faced freshman. I went through sorority rush, not really knowing what that was, but my mom told me I needed to do it, especially because I was so shy. I pledged Pi Beta Phi, and right off the bat, I met Peg Tobin. She was a dynamo at the age of 65. She was always around the house. She was talking to the cook about what we should be eating. She was talking to the house mom about things we needed to fix around the house. She was talking to the older girls in the house about leadership and things we needed to do. And sometimes you would even see her on a ladder cleaning out the gutters of our house. There are so many memories of Peg, but the two that I want to share with all of you. The first one is we would have formal dinners on Monday, and it was really an opportunity for us to maybe learn manners or how to conduct ourselves at a business meeting or business dinner, business lunch. And I kid you not, she spent 6 to 8 minutes explaining to us how to eat a dinner roll. And if anyone wants to know how to do that, please get my contact information from the Alumni Association and I would be happy to share. The other memory I have of her is more of a one-on-one contact I had. When I was a sophomore, I was kind of struggling, not with Laramie or the university. I loved everything about that, but I did not know what I wanted to major in. And when you're a junior, you have to declare a major. So Peg came up to me and she said, what's going on? And I told her, and she said, if you can't figure out what you want to do, think about what do you enjoy doing? Or look at the people in your life and who seem to enjoy what. And she said, then once you pick that, don't worry about it. If you want to change direction, or as people are saying now, pivot, do it. And as you could tell from my career, I got a degree in secondary education and law, and I don't really use either of those degrees. But the next thing she said to me resonated, and I want to impart to everyone else. She said, education is the foundation. You can do anything once you get your education. So I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So then I leave Laramie. I have no idea that I was truly in the midst of a University of Wyoming and really a Wyoming rock star. Peg Tobin was fantastic. She had been the Dean of Women's Students. She oversaw residence halls when they were the women's residence halls. She oversaw and did things with sororities and Panhellenic and mortarboard and so much more. And in 1997, the Alumni Association honored her with the Medallion Service Award. I cannot tell you how amazing she was. Sadly, she passed away in 2018. And after that happened, well, I guess prior to that, Pi Beta Phi is no longer on campus. They closed our chapter. And our house is on 15th and Sorority Row. It's right on the corner. And last year, they renamed it the Tobin House. And they opened its doors to first-generation college students. And I know that Peg is looking down and saying that that is the most fantastic thing in the world. So I'm super excited to send my daughter. She started as a freshman at UW just this year, and I know she'll meet some more amazing women who will support and challenge her. Thank you so much.
I would also like to thank Black Hills Energy, First Interstate Bank, and UWAA Federal Credit Union for sponsoring our program. We would also like to give a final thank you to all the women who have served and are serving on our board of directors and to those who have been employed by the association. We hope you enjoyed the event and please stay connected with the UWAA. Go Pokes!